The rough ride for the company, leaving Wall Street feeling very bearish on this name.
Now that Model 2 is likely being pushed out, potentially even canceled, you do not have this on the horizon anymore.
If they don't do Model 2 and went straight to autonomy, that would be like being at a cliff in the Grand Canyon and looking down below.
All that and more. So let's get to it. Tesla stock is down in the pre-market yet again, almost 2%, sitting at 147.20. For the week, Tesla is down over 15%, and year-to-date, Tesla is now down over 40%. With earnings right around the corner and the bearish sentiment at its worst, I believe the worst is yet to come.
2024 has been off to a rough start for Tesla and its CEO Elon Musk, with shares of the EV maker down more than 35% this year, giving back a good chunk of the massive gains the name saw back in 2023, right now hitting their lowest levels since January. It's now among the worst performers in the S&P 500, closely followed by another embattled company, Boeing.
Damn! Speaking of Tesla in the same breath as Boeing, did one of the Model X doors fly off?
So how did we get here for Tesla? Well, back in January, they warned of notably slower sales growth that fueled investor concerns about stock demand and competition from China.
Tesla's warning comes off the back of a really gross macroeconomic issue. Less sales growth does not mean no growth, but it would appear that Tesla is encroaching upon even their limits of the price cuts.
CEO Elon Musk then said the company would be focusing on production of its new generation vehicle. That day, Tesla stock suffered its sharpest percentage drop in more than a year, with $80 billion wiped out in market value just in that day, a record-breaking drop. And then we had price cuts and more price cuts. At the beginning of the year, Tesla cut prices of the Model 3 and Model Y in China. The company also reported slowing China shipments, spooking investors and sending shares to fresh lows.
The company is going to do whatever they've got to do to get butts in seats. And as far as China goes, Shanghai is the major export hub of Tesla. It stands to reason that the China sales will fluctuate as they export cars all over the Pan-Pacific region.
In March, things got worse. Deliveries for the company fell 20% from the previous quarter, marking the first year-over-year declines since 2020.
Which Tesla prepared investors for back in January.
And we should mention deliveries are the closest approximation of sales reported by Tesla, but they're not precisely defined in the company's shareholder communication, so it is an estimate. And just this week, the company cutting 10% of its workforce and a major executive resigning after 18 years at the EV maker. So amidst all that bad news, also, Elon Musk did try to spark some optimism, saying that the long-awaited robo-taxis would be unveiled in August, but that might not be enough for the street. The rough ride for the company, leaving Wall Street feeling very bearish on this name. Over 60% of analysts had a buy rating on Tesla just last year. Now only 32% of analysts have a buy rating, over 44% have a hold, and 23% have a rare sell rating.
Sounds like a buying opportunity to me.
Emmanuel joins us to discuss his call now. Emmanuel, it's great to have you. I was looking back to early March where you actually were suspicious of the delivery number ahead of that print, and you talked about downside risk. Why revisit the rating at this point?
Look, we've actually been at the forefront of warning investors about meaningful near-term downside risk. Basically, Tesla is under tremendous pressure. There's a lot of pressure on the demand side for their vehicles. Pricing pressure, earnings pressure, free cash flow. So if anything, we've had some of the lowest estimates in the near term, both for 2024 and 2025. But we've been okay with it as long as it was perceived as being temporary. And it would have been temporary because the Model 2 was supposed to come next year and re-accelerate things, re-accelerate volume, margin, earnings, and free cash flow. I believe long-term investors are on board as well. They know how bad things are now, but they expected things to turn around. Now that Model 2 is likely being pushed out, potentially even canceled, you do not have this on the horizon anymore. And so now earnings are under pressure, free cash flow is under pressure. There's no turning point to this. Hence, this is thesis changing, and this is why we're downgrading the stock.
1. There is no Model 2. Please stop calling it the Model 2. That does not exist. Let me get myself over that. Okay, it might be the NV9. But first, let's talk about the next generation platform, not vehicle, platform. The first being unveiled is the Robotaxi. They could have probably went any direction with this, but I'm gonna have to trust Tesla, and they're familiar with the day-to-day operations, the path the company needs to move forward. They chose the Robotaxi for a reason. But the NV9, which this analyst keeps calling the Model 2 for some reason, has not been abandoned. There is plenty of opportunity to explore the NV9, along with maybe even the possibility of a van off this platform. Many things in the supply chain have to come together to make this efficient financially, manufacturally. This will be an entirely new process the auto industry will see when it comes to manufacturing vehicles. Much like the Cybertruck, some of these kinks are going to have to be ironed out. So while half of the analysts that had buy ratings in the past now switch to holds or maybe even sells, I believe that they're overreacting, one, because of all the bearish sentiment in the news media, coupled with their current expectations of where Tesla should be going, and two, the lack of information coming out of the Tesla camp.
One analyst that we're going to talk to next still maintains his buy rating on Tesla, but says that the clock is striking midnight for Elon Musk because of many of those reasons that you just listed. So for more on that, we want to bring in Dan Ives of Wedbush Securities. Dan, it's great to see you here. So I was just going through a recent note that you put out this week. You're saying that the clock has struck midnight for Elon Musk, that Tesla is going through a major, quote, Category 5 storm right now. Where do we go from here?
I think we're going to find out Tuesday, because this is probably the worst period that I've seen, I'd say in about 6 years for Tesla. And patience is wearing thin. And you see from an investor perspective, and obviously, many thrown in the towel, the long-term story is still there. And that's why we remain bullish. But no doubt, this is white knuckle. And there could be darker days ahead if Musk does not handle the call, I think, like an adult in the room, and actually give some sort of vision and navigation with a lot of questions remaining.
You know how this is going to play out, right? You throw down the gauntlet expecting Elon Musk to be an adult, whatever the that means. But Elon is going to be Elon. And that's why I'm invested heavily in this company. That back there is a genius. He surrounds himself with the best of talent that can see his vision and execute it as best that they can.
Let's stick on this adult in the room concept, because a lot of the challenge here for Tesla is that the fundamentals don't always match up with what Elon Musk is purporting about deliveries and company fundamentals. What can you tell us from your experience on the ground that may not be making headlines or may not be making its way out of Elon Musk's mouth to investors?
Look, right now, I can tell you firsthand, China EV market, it's like the video thriller, Nightmare on Elm Street. Pick your spot. It's been bad. Now, that's obviously been the huge headwind for Tesla, which is really, that's a key part of the growth, right, in terms of the China story. What I think investors need to hear is, what's the strategy to turn this around?
Elon has nothing to prove to anyone. He's never held an analyst's hand before, and I don't expect him to start now.
Are they going to maintain prices? And the big thing is Model 2. You need Model 2.
Please stop calling it that. There is no Model 2.
This cannot just be about autonomy 5-6 years from now. And I think that's really the crucial point here that they need to get, and he needs to get on that conference call in terms of that point.
Look, the NV9, that's the best name we got for the project until we get a better one or something closer to an unveil, has not gone anywhere. Tesla has to be judicious with its resources, or they could just unveil every product they got in their roadmap, but that's not the case. Dan Ives and some of these other analysts feel that they know best. Yo, Elon, you're doing it wrong. You need to be coming out with the $25,000 car. Why are you so focused on this pipe dream we call Robotaxi, betting the company on autonomy? Yo, Elon, you're doing it wrong. The audacity. He breathed life into this company, poured a massive amount of financial funds into it. When you talk about skin in the game, this man slept on factory floors just to make sure this company didn't die in the crib. And then you got notes from the peanut gallery that have no idea what you've been through or what you had to do to succeed, telling you the best path forward for your company that they could have never built themselves. Get the f*** out of here.
Tim, what are you hearing or what are you expecting in terms of the timing of production of the Model 2? And if it doesn't happen according to plan, more specifically, what does that then downside risk look like?
If they don't do Model 2 and went straight to autonomy, that would be like being at a cliff in the Grand Canyon and looking down below.
The sensationalism, is it necessary that you can't just say I have no idea what's going on because I'm not privy to all, if any, of the information? Has to be a disaster, Dan.
I mean, the point is, it's a scary proposition because when Tesla talks about 2 growth waves, the second wave is Model 2, refresh Model 3, Model Y, and obviously some other models that they're going to introduce. But that's the issue right now in terms of Model 2. You cannot go straight autonomy. And obviously some, have reported it. And this is really what I view when I say clock striking midnight. It comes down from us. Navigate the Category 5 storm, just like he has in 18, 2020, and other. Otherwise, this is not just trust me, because I think that's really the frustration now. That essentially is, went from a Cinderella story magic carpet ride to what's been a bit of a horror show, especially the last 4 months.
Well, analysts are, and we're hearing from sources that the future of Tesla does really rely on cracking that driverless autonomy that you did mention. How likely is that?
Autonomy is going to be key, but we're not really going to see driverless, no steering wheels, 2030. And think about the regulatory involved here. So that sounds great on a PowerPoint and sci-fi in terms of what autonomy, and we do believe in the autonomous vision. But in the near term, it's about growth. What does free cash flow look like? How do you reverse the growth trend? How do you get to 3, 4, 5 million units? The only way you get there is with a sub 30K car, Model 2. For a product line that really hasn't had a refresh since Model Y. Cybertruck continues to be limited. That's not going to be mass market. And that's the issue here. This would almost be the equivalent of Apple being like, okay, iPhone 14, like iPhone 15, iPhone 16. Hey, just wait till the iPhone 24. Stay tuned.
The f are we talking about? iPhone 20. The NV9, or the Model 2 as he keeps calling it, is supposed to be the next step in the iPhone? Is this supposed to be some camera addition to my phone? I don't even know where to begin with the erroneous nature of that comment. One, each vehicle is very similar to its own line. It's like its own iPhone in particular. So the Model S, the Model X, the Model Y, the Model 3, much like your iPhone, they'll continuously get updates throughout the year. The major difference between an iPhone and your car is that iPhone will say, oh, this is the iPhone 16, the iPhone 17. Whereas Tesla is going to put the best stuff in the current vehicle that's being produced. The Model Y of 2023 and the Model Y of 2024 are going to be 2 totally different vehicles because of the stuff that they put inside of each. Tesla just doesn't say, oh, the brand new Model Y4. No. They're just going to put the best things in the vehicles that they have right now, hand it to customers, and watch it improve over time. The next generation platform is not going to be some addition to what the iPhone is. It's not the next step in iPhone. It's an entirely different product lineup. And Dan Ives claims to believe in autonomy. I mean, a lot of smart people do, but it's all about the timeline. How fast our AI student driver FSD is able to learn the subtle nuances of the rules of the road will be determined by compute. Elon has just recently said they are no longer compute restrained. So while I don't believe it'll be solved anytime in the next couple of months or by the unveil of the robotaxi, I have them solving it way before 2030. In conclusion, fear, uncertainty, and doubt is plaguing TSLA. Longtime Tesla bulls downgrading the stock, lowering the price targets, unsure of where Tesla's next move should be. They all know where it ought to be, the Model 2. And I would agree, the next generation platform is going to be that next growth wave for Tesla. The NV9, the robotaxi, which are guaranteed to be on that platform, maybe a van, who knows, maybe a van. But the panic and uncertainty have everyone running for the hills. Not your boy. I'm going to continue to buy as much Tesla stock as I possibly can at these discounted rates. That's all I got for you today. Be easy. Peace.